Hoop Sisters, and today we're going to work on block A6, which is in the lower left-hand corner of your quilt. These are your fabrics and threads you will need for block A6. We need your background fabric 1, and it will need a contrast thread. I've chosen this darker aqua. You need your stash fabric 2, I've chosen peach. Stash fabric 3, I've chosen pink. And the threads for 3, we need a matching dark, so I've got a darker pink, and we need a contrast, I've chosen aqua. Then we also need a stash fabric 4. So on the machine, and again we're going to be sewing block A6, we've hooped our battleizer, and we're going to stitch out the pattern. Step 2 for block A6 is to take your fabric 2 and place it right side up, right over the stitching on your battleizer, and place your water-soluble thread in the needle and go ahead and stitch your tack down. Block A6, we finished stitching step 2, which was the tack down with the water-soluble thread, and now we're going to trim a scant 1/4 inch around the outside of the little flower. We'll take our hoop scissors, get nice and close into the point, and leave about a scant 1/4 inch all the way around. Continuing on with step 3 for block A6, we're going to take our fabric 3, place it right side up, right over the last step we just stitched. We're going to continue to leave our wash away thread in the needle, and we will stitch another tack down. We've just completed sewing step 3 of block A6, and we can see all our wash away thread have stitched half of a petal. So now we're going to take our scissors and trim very, very close as if for applique. And I like to really pull on the fabric so I get nice and close up to it. Block A6, I've just completed step 3, where we've laid our fabric 3 right side up and stitched our tack down, and then I trimmed away all the excess. So now we have like a 2-tone petal. Step 4, we need to put our thread 3 match dark is what I've chose to put in there, which is my dark pink, and it's going to stitch a decorative fill stitch over my pink fabric. We have our completed step 4 of our block A6, and we've just stitched out all this beautiful motif fill in our hot pink thread. So the next thing we're going to do is change to our wash away thread in the needle only, because in step 5 we're going to take our fabric number 4, fold it in half, into quarters I should say, and cut a small hole in the center. And you will place it right side up over all of your stitching, and the machine is going to stitch a tack down. We've just completed stitching step 5 for block A6 in a wash away thread. It's very difficult to see, but on the outside corners we need to trim because there's no fabric under there yet, just battleizer. Trim it and leave about a scant 1/4 inch of fabric on all 4 of your outside corners. On the inside, again, we've made the little hole because we're going to go ahead and cut very close as if for applique around the shape of the flower that the machine just stitched. And underneath, it will reveal our stitching. So I've just completed trimming step 5 of our block A6. I'm going to remove the fabric from the center, and now it is time to go ahead and put our corner squares on. You are to cut 4 squares of background fabric 1, and you place them right side up, right in the upper. The first one will be in the upper left hand corner, and we're still using the wash away thread and the needle, and the machine is going to stitch a tack down. I've just finished stitching step 6 with my wash away thread, and I'm going to trim very close as if for applique right along this edge. And the fabric that I have left over will go ahead and go in the lower left-hand corner for step 7. Step 7 is just completed with our wash away thread in the lower left-hand corner. So I'm going to go ahead and trim very close as if for applique along the stitching line. And for step 8, we'll place our same background fabric, number 1, in the lower right-hand corner, and it'll stitch the tack down stitch. Just finished step 8 with our wash away thread in the lower right-hand corner, so we're going to go ahead and trim right next to the stitching line. Really close, like we're appliquing. And then we'll place the leftover fabric in the upper right-hand corner and we'll stitch the tack down, which will be step 9. Just finished stitching step 9 in block A6 with our wash away thread, and it's the final corner. So we're gonna, once again, trim very close as if for applique along the stitching line. Step 10, we're going to place thread 1C in the needle only, and we're going to stitch the stem stitch, which will cover up your raw edges on the corners. Step 11 in block A6 will be to place your thread 3 match, which is my pink, in the needle only, and it's going to stitch the stem stitch around our flower. This will be step 12 of block A6, and we need to put our thread 1C in the needle only, and it'll stitch a decorative stitch in the corners of our block. We're ready for step 13 for block A6, and we're going to place the back fabric on the back of the block. So I've sprayed my backing fabric with a little temporary spray adhesive, and I will stick it right over the battleizer to the back of the block. I'll place my wash away thread in the needle only, and I will stitch the basting stitch to hold the back on. Step number 14 of block A6, you will need to have your thread 3M in your needle and your bobbin, and so we'll thread the machine up for that right now, and it'll do all the decorative stem stitches to cover up all of our raw edges. So once we have our machine threaded up for step 14 in block A6, remember again, since we have our backing fabric on, we want to turn off the feature on your machine where it will cut your jump stitches, and we also want to draw your bobbin thread up to the top so that you will have a nicer looking back. If your bobbin thread is drawn to the top, you won't have those little lumps of thread underneath. Step 15 of block A6, we need our thread 1C contrasting to fabric 1 in the needle and the bobbin, and we're going to go ahead and stitch our decorative stem stitches on the corner. Block A6 is totally completed, and we took it out of our hoop, and A6 is in the lower left hand corner of our Goose Tracks quilt. So it's going to have 2 outside edges and 2 inside edges. The outside edges get trimmed with the regular quilter's ruler 1/4 inch away from your basting stitch line through all your layers. And the 2 inside edges will be trimmed using the trimmer by George. And we'll take the trimmer, we'll fold back the front layer of the quilt block, snug up the trimmer, lay it down flat, gently tug on your battleizer, and cut away your battleizer layer and your backing layer. And you will do that on 2 sides. And then you will take your quilter's ruler. You can see I've trimmed away all the layers. You'll take your quilter's ruler and trim the top layer 1/4 inch from your basting line on the remaining 2 sides. And then that block is completed.